Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite DraftKings plays for tonight's 12-game slate in the NHL. Let's get right into it. And we're going to kick things off here like we always do, highlighting the 12 games in the NHL tonight, showing you the money lines and over-unders. First set of games here, we got the Flyers taking on the Rangers, Bruins at Panthers, Hurricanes at Penguins, Red Wings at Capitals, Devils at Maple Leafs, and the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Winnipeg Jets. Next set of games here, we got the Golden Knights at Predators, Flames at Blackhawks, Canadiens at Avalanche, Ducks at Kraken, Blue Jackets at Coyotes, and the Dallas Stars taking on the San Jose Sharks. And then here's a quick schedule update. We got a really weird schedule in the NHL here this week, so I'm only going to be making videos for today's slate and Thursday's slate. I'll also be breaking down some of my favorite plays in my Discord for that Saturday slate as well. If you have not joined that yet, it is completely free to do so, and there's a link to join in the description below on this video. With all that said, let's dive into a couple of line stacks that I like here for tonight. Now, 12 games, 24 teams to choose from. There's a lot to love about this slate in general, but the Dallas Stars are sitting in a really good spot here tonight against the San Jose Sharks. Honestly, I think we could probably roster any one of those top three lines, but I lean towards this second line here with Johnston, Benn, and Stankoven. Maybe they're the third line, depends on the site that you're looking at, but of the top three lines, this line here has been the most consistent over the past month. We're going to see Benn play up on the Stars' #1 power play, Johnston and Stankoven play down on the #2 power play, and a great spot here against San Jose, a team that's allowed 4 goals per game this year, the most in the NHL, while having the league's 5th worst penalty kill, hitting at just a 74.5% rate. And then another line stack, and really a team that I like targeting here tonight, is the Colorado Avalanche, and by all means you can play McKinnon with Rantanen and Nichushkin. That first line, I have no problem with that, but if we look at the second line here with Middlestead, Lankinen, and Drouin, it is a very cheap and likely contrarian line stack in this matchup here tonight at home against the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the Avs do a very good job of shuffling up their top 6 forwards. We could see Middlestead play with Nichushkin and Lankinen at times, Nichushkin and Rantanen. We could see both these wingers here play up with McKinnon. It really just depends on how Bednar is really shifting things. We saw it the other night against the Penguins. But what I do know is we're going to see Drouin play up on the #1 power play for sure. Lankinen and Middlestead play down on the #2 power play. And being that they're really just shuffling the top 6 forwards together, I have no concern with that. This is a great spot at home here against Montreal, a team that's allowed 3.5 goals per game this year, the 6th most in the NHL, while having the league's 7th worst penalty kill, hitting at just a 76% rate. Now folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Alright, now diving into some of my favorite individual plays here, we're going to kick it off with the forwards, and the first guy that I got at the top is the great 8 in Alexander Ovechkin, who's been on fire as of late, kind of looking like his old self. He's not as fast as his old self, but he's still got that ridiculous shot. He's now got 9 goals, 4 assists, 13 points, and 34 shots on net over his last 10, averaging close to 16.5 DraftKings points per game, playing up on the first line and #1 power play. Now another guy who's been super hot as of late, and really ever since they fired Lindy Ruff, is Timo Meier of the New Jersey Devils. He's got 9 goals, 5 assists, 14 points in his last 10, averaging 4 shots on net per game and 18.5 DraftKings points per game, playing up on the first line and #1 power play for the Devils. Next guy that I got there then is Jared McCann of the Seattle Kraken. Doesn't have great numbers here as of late, but certainly not horrible. 2 goals, 5 assists, and 31 shots on net over his last 10, averaging 10 DraftKings points per game. But I love this spot at home here against the Anaheim Ducks, a team that's allowed 3.58 goals per game this year, the 4th most in the NHL, while having the league's 3rd worst penalty kill, hitting at a 73.5% rate. And you've probably heard me reiterate this a number of times over the last month. No team takes more penalties than the Ducks, so we should see the Kraken get some solid power play time here tonight. I then got Seth Jarvis there, the Carolina Hurricanes, who are heading back to Pittsburgh tonight. We got Gensel playing the Penguins for the first time. Really looking forward to watching that. But Jarvis offers such great value here at $5,300 for a guy who's playing up on that first line and number one power play, especially in a matchup like this against the Pens, who have really struggled here in March, where they've gone 3-8-2, allowing close to 4.5 goals per game, with the penalty kill that's hit at just a 75% rate. And we've seen Jarvis rack up 8 goals, 1 assist, 9 points now in his last 10, averaging 11.5 DraftKings points per game. And then dipping into the 4K range of forwards here, I almost went with Jake DeBrusk of the Boston Bruins. You can see I mentioned that there in the notes, but ended up going to Bukestad here, and I kind of like the Coyotes in general at home tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Bukestad's currently playing up on that first line right now with Keller and Schmaltz, as well as playing down on that number 2 power play, and he's got 5 goals, 4 assists, 24 shots on net here in his last 10 games, averaging close to 11 DraftKings points per game. Now, moving on to the defensemen here, and we got some elite plays at the top here. If you wanted to play Cale Makar of the Avalanche, I have no problem with that, even though he's not going to be on the graphics here, because 2 other guys that I would be willing to spend up for here tonight are Zach Werenski of the Columbus Blue Jackets and John Carlson of the Washington Capitals. Both these guys are very well-rounded defensemen. You can see their numbers there on the graphic. Both guys can get on the score sheet. Both aren't afraid to shoot the puck. Both aren't afraid to block shots, averaging 15 DraftKings points per game over his last 10 for Werenski, averaging 13 DraftKings points per game over his last 10 for Carlson. Both these guys should play around 24 minutes here tonight, up on their team's number 1 power play and penalty kill. And then as far as value defensemen go, Timothy Liljegren is offering some really nice value here in the low 4K range, especially considering he's up on the number 1 power play for the Maple Leafs right now. He's got 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points in his last 10, averaging 2.5 block shots per game as well, and 11.5 DraftKings points per game. I'll absolutely take that for a guy priced here in the low 4K range, someone who should play around 20 minutes tonight. And then going back to the sub 4K defenseman plays, I got McDonough and Barry of the Nashville Predators, Schultz of the Seattle Kraken, and Shattenkirk of the Bruins. And then I got a couple of goaltenders here for you, and if I'm looking to spend up tonight, I'm looking at the goaltender here for the Carolina Hurricanes. I prefer Freddie Anderson starting, but if it's Kochetkov, I have no problem with that, and honestly, it might be Kochetkov, just because him and Freddie have been playing every other game, but he was not very good in his last game against the Washington Capitals, so maybe the Carolina Hurricanes do lean on Freddie here tonight, because he's been absolutely fantastic ever since he's returned from the IR, going 6-0-0 in his last 6 games with a save percentage of .951, goals allowed average of 1.34, averaging 20 DraftKings points per game. Those are absolutely ridiculous numbers. And then if I'm looking to spend down here tonight, and this is primarily a tournament play for me, but I guess I wouldn't mind him in cash games either. It's Peter Mrazek of the Chicago Blackhawks. Season record, not great. Last 9 games here, not great either. But this is definitely someone who offers that boom-bust appeal. And hell, even the Blackhawks could lose here tonight, and this is someone who could still score 12 DraftKings points. But for tournaments especially, he's got that 25, 30-plus DraftKings point upside that we're kind of looking for, especially for a cheap goaltender. And as always, going to wrap up this video here with 3 low-priced options or sub 4K forward plays. First guy that I got is Max Domi. Huge opportunity play with him up on that first line right now with Matthews, as well as playing up on the Leafs' number 1 power play. He's now got 1 goal, 8 assists, 9 points in his last 10 games. Ryan Donato was recently promoted to that first line with Bedard, and he's also playing on the number 2 power play. He's got 4 goals, 3 assists, and 33 shots on net in his last 10, averaging 11 DraftKings points per game. Really like the way that he's been playing. And then Justin Brazeau there of the Boston Bruins. This is a guy who's going to play on the 4th line, but does get time on the number 2 power play, and he's now got a 3-game goal streak going right now, where he scored 4 goals, had 11 shots on net, hitting 10, 19.5, and 29 DraftKings points. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great day here, folks. Let's win some money on this 12-game slate. And in the meantime, I'm out of here.